Oh, my books are on my shelf. It's fine. They're right behind me. Right there. Hello, everyone. Let me just see if we went live yet. Oh, it says one person's here.
Yay.
Yay. I'm also very excited you're doing the Throne of Glass series on your Patreon.
I'm so looking forward to rereading that series. I've only read it once.
Me too. That's why I'm like, oh, you're doing it perfect.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think I'm going to read that after I finish my current read.
I'm deep in the rereads because I was like, what do I read after House of Flame and Shadow? Like nothing.
I saw you're reading Magnolia Parks, right? You're rereading it?
Yeah, via audio actually, and the audiobook is really good. They did a great job.
I just bought the audiobooks for that, so I think I might go back and read that because I only made it up to book 2.
I think that's where Jess is too.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has to read Magnolia and BJ's second book and then Daisy's next book. Yeah. So she has 2 more left. I don't know the audiobooks for Daisy Hates though.
I think it might be out. I bought the first 2.
Okay, because I haven't. Well, the footnotes in the, you know how the book has the footnotes in her chapters.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know how they're going to do that with audio because I haven't listened to theirs. So I'm interested. Let me know how that goes.
I was going to say, I read another book a long time ago that had that, and they did it really weird. It was like music, and then they did the footnotes. Hello, I've been joking.
Hi, Kamal. You were on a roll. Come on. Hi, guys.
Hi.
We are here to chat the Boys of Tommen series, but we're here to chat about Joey and Aoife's story, which is Saving and Redeeming 6. 2 chunky books.
Very chunky books.
Yes. Hi, Caroline. Welcome, beautiful people. We're going to be talking spoilers, so after we get into like our introductions and, you know, initial thoughts, but we will be talking spoilers about the series and these books because I feel like you cannot talk about these books without talking spoilers.
You really can't.
But Joey Lynch. Okay, so what did you rate Saving and Redeeming 6?
I gave them both 5 stars.
Okay. So, yeah. And you gave Binding and Keeping 13 both 5 stars, right?
No, I gave, what's the first one, Binding 13?
Mm-hmm.
I gave that 4 stars, and then I gave the second one 5 stars.
Okay, that's fair because I don't know why she chose to do this and why to split it up between like 2 books for each couple because they are chunky.
Yeah.
So a lot of critiques with Binding 13 was that it was just like a little.
It was set up, and I think you needed that setup to really get that emotional impact. But it also like it took me a while to get into the story.
Yeah. So. No, I totally get that. Brandon just sneezed. Bless you. Oh my God. I reread Saving and Redeeming 6, like I know Redeeming 6 was like my last book of 2023. Like I wanted to reread it. One, because like at that point I already had my top books of the year, and I was like, okay, I didn't want to like read any new books that could like mess that rating like up. But yeah, on the reread I gave them both 5 stars. Like literally, Saving and Redeeming 6 are 2 of my top books of 2023. Redeeming is my I have something in my eye. Sorry. Redeeming is my absolute favorite book, probably of like all time. Like it's up there with some of my favorite Sarah J. Maas books. So
it's definitely, I think, a favorite of all time. But I think I'm gonna do what you did and reread it towards the end of the year because I feel so weird being like I found my favorite book of the year in January. So
yeah, I think I read Saving and Redeeming 6 in February of last year, February or March or something.
Yeah,
like
so
that.
It's super early.
Yeah, and for between like that and then I read Manacled in the summer, and you know I read some really good contemporaries at the end of the year, and it was just like nonstop for me, like with those books that like they still just carry throughout the year. So I'm like, when you told me that Redeeming might be your favorite, I was like, I mean, it's not surprising, but like I hope it sticks because like all these books, you know.
I think I liked Redeeming more than Manacled, and I loved Manacled, but I honestly like I was up until like 1 a.m. reading that book, and it's been so long since that's happened. So
yeah, with that book it really gets going like really towards the end. You're like, I have to know what happens to them, like all of it. I listened to the audio of Saving and fell in love. Yeah,
audio is so good.
Did you physically read along or you just listened to the audio?
I kind of both ways. So like sometimes I read with it and sometimes if I had the audio like super fast, like there was a point I was listening at 2x speed, I had the book in front of me because there was no way of me listening that fast.
No, I think on my reread, I just listened to the audiobook, I think. Oh no, I have the ebook. So I was listening while I was reading. But even while I'm reading physically with it, I didn't go up past like 2x speed just because the accents were,
Yeah.
there were a lot. They were so good. Like they were so spot on. Like I'm so glad she used the same narrators from Binding and Keeping 13 because they did a really good job with them. Like just the Irish accents and then like this dialects of the different Irish accents. Like they did a really good job. And the emotions.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't think I looked up. I don't think they do a lot of audiobooks. Like they didn't have a long list.
I don't know where they came from, but they were amazing. The narrators did do a good job. And I think that's why I got so emotional too, because I was like hearing the emotions in their voice, like you just get it. Just connect. Yeah, I mean, I was literally just talking to Jess because we were on a podcast. I was like, okay, I have to go. Like, I'll talk to you later, whatever. I have my live show. Are you going to watch? She's like, no, I don't want to be spoiled. I haven't read this book. I haven't read these books. And I'm like, you haven't read a lot of books, Jess. Like, come on. Okay, so obviously, well, this was Joey and Eva's book. This was definitely Joey's story.
100%.
Like,
yes.
100%. His journey, it was heartbreaking. And he just kept saying, like, can it get any worse?
And it could. It just kept getting worse. I was like, there's no way. And then that specific scene happened. And I was, oh, yeah.
Okay, so for me, because I read them like back to back, basically, what was like a favorite of Saving Six? Like a favorite scene, a favorite moment, anything like that?
So this is just a scene that sticks out, but it's when Aoife and Joey were fighting. I think they were in like home ec or something. And he put her in a sink and she got stuck in the sink. And like he realizes it's because he said that someone else had nice legs. And I was like, they're adorable and I love them. And that was like such a cute moment.
Yes. Like with all of the heartbreak that Joey and Aoife have in their two books, like throughout both of them, that moment, like they had some moments where like you could laugh with them.
Yes.
And have like at least a good moment between all the bad ones that happened.
Yes. And I feel like the first book was a little bit lighthearted, not lighthearted, but lighter than the second because it is their past. So they're still rather young. And I liked seeing that. Yeah.
So Saving Six ends at the same moment that Binding 13 ends.
Yes.
So I like that she did that. I don't know if she did it on purpose, but it was nice that like, okay, it ended there. But I personally, I want to give Joey the biggest hug of all time. Totally get that. Hi, Lizelle. But yeah, that moment when it ends in Saving Six, like the like choose. Okay, there's so much to digest with Joey as like a character, right? So in Saving Six, I didn't know actually picking up Saving Six for the first time that it was going to go back to like first year for them or second year or something. So it's like every 100 pages, it goes from one year to the other. And I think like first year is like 6th grade, if I'm not mistaken, 6th or 7th grade, like the equivalent in the US.
Yeah.
So you really see them have this like little development, and she sticks with her boyfriend for way too long.
So long. But I understand because she is a child where her father's cheating that she didn't want to be in that situation. So like I got that, but also she was so strong and you're just letting this guy like, yeah.
It was rough because you could tell like that was the one thing, even when she got with Joey, she was like, never do this to me. And he never did. He never did. That was like, okay, like even through everything where he may not have remembered if something did happen, he was like, I would have never done that to you. But like her sticking with him, I think personally it was like a little too long, but I think it paced the story well because her and Joey, friends to lovers is my favorite, right? A favorite trope. I don't know why. I know it's not a favorite for everyone, but like the Joey and Aoife, the friends to lovers part, they have such this mutual respect for each other as friends that it's easy to transition to the lovers part.
I honestly didn't even think of this as friends to lovers, but you're 100% right. So this might be like my favorite friends to lovers because I don't like that trope, but
Yeah,
I loved it in this.
I know a lot of people don't, but I think it's because their banter. Their banter made it seem like Joey didn't like her. She was just another girl, and it was like, whatever. But in Joey's head, he was like, no, she's like my best friend. And I'm like,
how did you feel in the beginning with Darren? Where he, in the beginning of the book, he's dropping off Joey at school and sees Aoife, and then he leaves, and then we find out that he left.
So that was hard for me because I didn't realize the parallels of him doing that for Shannon.
Yeah.
And how hard that was for him because he also was thinking of leaving around literally the same time. So I think the parallels that she drew from that, it was like, it's just hard because he's like, you know what, before I didn't understand why he left. Like he still harbors this huge resentment for Darren. And I would say even at the end of the book, like him and Darren have like resolution, but I don't think that they have a good relationship.
No, not at all.
So it's really hard, but for him to take the step back and be like, oh, I see the parallels now. And I see how hard it was. Like I can only imagine what Darren thought at that moment. And so when he comes back, he was like, oh, you're the girl. You were the girl that Joey saw. And I think it was interesting, like one of the most important people to leave Joey's life, another person came in at that exact moment. And I thought that was really cool that she like kind of put that in there. I mean, I don't know if anyone picked that up, but it's like literally the day that Darren left was the day that he met Aoife, and Aoife became one of the most important people in Joey's life. So I thought that parallel was really interesting.
Yeah, I like how it started. I could like already tell. I was like, this is going to be good. Like, this is going to be emotional.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she did give a little bit of anger because like he couldn't cross the line, but he still protected her. And you could tell like that protectiveness came from him working for her dad at the garage, which I love her parents. Like, the dad, I forgot his name, but like Aoife's dad and Joey have this
mutual respect almost. Like they both like work hard and
yeah. I mean, like, is he a perfect man? No. Is he a perfect husband? No.
But neither of them are, and I think that's why it works. Like
exactly. And so he's like, oh, because I work for him, I kind of want to watch out for Aoife. But I think he was using that as like an excuse to be like, oh, you know what, I do like her. Just kidding. Like, I do really like her.
This doesn't come for a little while, but how I know when I was reading what happened, I wanted Aoife to tell her dad so badly because I knew her dad would have lost it. And I wish she did because I would have loved to see her dad just pummel Teddy.
Yeah. I just like I said, he's not perfect and he's done some unforgivable things as a husband. And, like with his own son, he might not been like the best father figure, but he has never gone that far as Teddy has.
No, not at all.
And so it's easy to see. Yeah, it's easy to see like they're both not perfect, but one is like a total piece of shit.
Yes, 100%.
But also I like that Chloe Walsh there. I don't think there's a perfect character in any of her books.
No. I guess not. I was going to say Johnny's mom, but Johnny's mom also almost got into a fight. So
no, like she has a past. Like
I want her book. I really hope Chloe Walsh is writing her book because
I hope she writes every single character that we meet. Like literally her relationship with Joey at first, when I saw it in Binding and Keeping 13, I was like, wow, she's very attached to Joey and I don't understand. But you see that she comes from a similar past.
Yeah.
And that she sees maybe like a piece of herself or that she can help this kid that has lost his way in like in a different, way. That maybe whoever helped her, I'm assuming it's her husband's parents because she said she lived with them too. So I love him. There's so many characters like I love. Both of his parents literally are just they're not perfect. Like Johnny's dad definitely has made some mistakes as well. Like they're also not perfect parents. Like you've seen that in Johnny's book. They left him for so long and now they want to come back and try and be parents. And he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But all of the characters are like perfectly imperfect. And I love that. They're so realistic. Like,
and Gipsy, I love him. I am so excited for that. Like, and he does so like his character in this book where he's just like helping Aoife, I love him so much.
So when I first read this book, I was like, Joey, I love him. Didn't really pay attention to everything else. But on my reread, I paid attention more to Aoife's chapters. And I did not realize Gibbsy was just like, here's this money.
Here's $600. You don't have to pay me back. All good.
And I don't think like Gibbsy truly realized what that did for Joey and Aoife and the situation that Joey was able to get out of because of that.
Yeah.
And he was just like, no big deal.
Whatever.
So I feel like Saving Six, like we said, was just like them growing and developing, and it was cute and adorable. But like the main focus was obviously redeeming Six.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the most emotional. There is multiple
emotional moments.
Multiple emotional moments. Yeah. I'm gonna just come out and say it because I don't like to tell people like what this moment is. I was like, no, it can get worse. When he is on that bridge. So yeah. I'm a big proponent of mental health, right? I talk about that quite often on my channel, especially like over on my Patreon. I'm really open about that. I have anxiety, so I don't have like depression, right? But when your anxiety gets so bad, you tip into that. And there was a time where I've talked about this openly where I was at that point that Joey was in my life, and I had my husband to step in and help me at that time. Joey didn't have anyone. And I was so surprised that, oh my God, what's her name?
Lizzie,
I just blanked on her name. She was the one to step in.
I thought it was going to be Aoife. I thought when he said I felt arms around me, I was like, oh, good, Aoife got there. And then I was like, oh my God, it's not Aoife. So, yeah.
There's just like a piece of me that I see. I think anyone who really reads this book, they can see themselves in Joey. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
But for me, when that moment hit, that's where I was like, it solidified that like I am very similar to Joey in that like, you know, this kid has been through so fucking much in his life, and I don't blame him for being in that moment. Like at that point, I was like, I can't really be mad at him for choosing to do that.
Yeah.
Like it was a natural reaction for someone who has been pushed and pushed and pushed to the brink so many times that it's like, this is it. This is the moment where I don't have anything else to give. I cannot give anything else.
And he's the first character, I feel like, that he literally had no one. He has his mom feeding him poison. His father is horrible. He's taking care of all of his siblings. Like he just had no one until he had Aoife. But like, that was so upsetting.
Well, I think he got like, he's been on this brink for so long, like I feel like since Finding and Keeping 13, you can tell like he's been going through it, and you're like, has he contemplated suicide before? Like, really, has he? And then you see that he really hasn't. I mean, he kind of thought about it, you know, but
I think he was reckless, but I don't think he was purposely trying. Like he was just kind of
numbing the pain. Like obviously there's a lot of drugs and stuff like that in this book, and once again, I cannot fault him for going down that route. Like when you're doing everything you can. Oh my God, yes, Carol.
That broke my heart when he was trying not to fall in love with the baby, because he's like, I can't have another child to look after. I can't love this kid. It's another 18 years I'm stuck at this house. I was like bawling.
Yeah, it's a very like I always talk about my brother. He's my baby. Like I raised him. We're 12 years apart. So I feel very connected to him. But I also feel like I'm a third parent technically to him. And you know that statue, I think it's Atlas, where he has like the world on his shoulders?
Yeah.
That's Joey. Joey has had every single person pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling at him for something throughout his life. There's not one person until Aoife that gave him something. Everyone has just pulled something from him. And that moment when Teddy basically almost rapes her, when you were like, how can it get worse? And I was like, just wait. Just wait.
Yeah.
That was a really hard moment because I also didn't blame Aoife for having that reaction. You know, like
I understand why she had that reaction, but I was unbelievably frustrated in the aftermath. Not her immediate reaction saying, get me out of this house. I get that. But when she was kind of pressuring him to have an intimate time after the rape and then immediately takes it back. I understand, like, her mind was everywhere at that moment. But also, I feel so bad for Joey because he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. He's like, what do you want? And she's telling
Yeah.
him these words. And she said, and he's thinking in his head, okay, well, she's never really lied to me. Like, she's telling me what she wants. I'm going to give it to her, even though he feels conflicted. He's like, is this the right thing? He literally drives her to the police station.
Yeah. And I was so proud of him for that. I was so happy when he did that.
That breakthrough, though, like that, the amount of strength that takes, that he is literally putting this woman and what happened to her over his mom that he still has feelings for, that, you know, outside looking in, you can be like, why do you still care about your mother? But like in that situation, that's your mother, but also his 4 siblings.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. 4.
Yeah.
Like he's putting this woman above them technically for the first time ever, when he's literally been living his whole life for those kids. And so like that moment was so, like, it was a breakthrough. It was like, while it was heartbreaking, that was like the first thing of resolution for Joey to grow as a character. Like it was a switch, you know what I mean? Like,
and kind of piggybacking off that, I was reading Goodreads reviews after I finished this, and a lot of people talked about how Aoife tries to get Joey to kind of care about himself and kind of not as much with his siblings, and they saw that as a negative. He's never done that, and I think it's healthy for you to care about yourself at least a little bit. So I did not fault Aoife for that at all.
Yeah, no, like it's one of those things where it's like, it's okay to be selfish, you know what I mean? But like when you've been giving so much of yourself your entire life, for the first time you're actually being selfish, people are like, oh, I don't like that. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And it's confusing to me because I'm like, well, they've been giving everything that they've, you know, for the longest time. Of course they want a piece of something to themselves. And I feel like that piece was Aoife. He wanted like Aoife just for himself. And that's why he never wanted her to come over.
Yeah.
I feel like he never wanted her to walk into that house because that was his escape. Like
and the minute she does walk into the house, the mom says, you should leave. You shouldn't be with my son. He's bad, yada, yada, yada. And
yep. Also the venom that she spews to Joey, that you're just like him. And I'm like, how could she say that to him?
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, I'm raising your children. And, yeah, don't.
But also at the same time, he gives her money.
Yeah. That she gives to Teddy. When that happened, that scene with Teddy attacking Aoife, and the mom immediately goes to Teddy and holds a rag on his head and checks in on him before anybody else, I wanted to throw the book. I was so angry.
And a lot of people, when they read this book, like the first time I read it, I was like, fuck Teddy, fuck his mom. I hate them. Both of them could like go away and I wouldn't care, right? Now, upon my reread, I actually feel bad for his mom because she has been put in this situation since she was 15. And it's a different toxic relationship of, I feel like, borderline grooming. Like Teddy groomed her to be like this, and she goes back and forth in her head. I feel like she's like mentally very unstable.
Yeah.
And you can tell that because she goes back and forth. She's like, my children. And then she's like, oh, but Teddy, but my children, but Teddy. Like, she's very confused.
But I also like the fact that Chloe Welsh, we almost got 2 mothers between the first 2 books and the second 2 books, because honestly, she seemed pretty good with Shannon as far as being worried about Johnny,
Yep.
Things like that, getting her into Tommen. But then these 2 books, she's doing drugs, she's passing out, she's spewing all of this hate. Like, Chloe Welsh is a very good writer.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, sorry. I'm very, very, very behind in comments. I'm sorry, because I was just like okay, so this is what gets me going back to Gypsy. I feel like Gypsy is one of my favorite characters. I mean, they're all my favorite characters, okay? Like, come on. They're all amazing in their own way. Now, what gets me is he's been the comic relief for all of these books, right? But I feel like him and Claire have this undercurrent of serious that's not talked about.
Yes.
Especially with Gypsy's past with was it his sibling?
Yeah, his dad and sibling, right?
Yeah, where they drowned?
Yes.
And I don't know, there's not a huge like story about it. No one really knows. You don't even see
it. That Claire saved him, but we don't know if that means the emotional sense or like what. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was confused by that when it was mentioned. So Taming 6 is coming out. No, Taming 7 is coming out April.
Yes.
And I cannot wait.
Pre-ordered it. Barnes & Noble sale. It was one of the first ones I got.
Yeah, I cannot wait. And it's only going to be one book. Their story is going to be one book. She said that. So I think from now on, each couple is going to get one book. But while he's the comic relief, I think that there is a like very serious undercurrent there that is going to like explode in Taming 7, because it's always like the happiest people on the outside really are. Yeah, a lot. So heartbreaking is the great way to describe this book. I was shocked after the first duology that Teddy could get even worse. Yes.
Yeah.
And then going back to Lizzie to pull him back. Yeah. So obviously Lizzie had a sibling that committed suicide.
And there's something with Gibbsy, right? Like they have some sort of
something with that sibling. Gibbsy knows or was a part of it. I don't know what it was, but like she set up a lot, and I'm like, I'm ready. Yes. Yes, this is also true. You definitely can tell this from his point of view that he was scared Aoife would see him as his dad, considering his mom has constantly been telling him that.
And when Aoife says that he reminds him of his dad right after the event, that broke my heart.
Like, it's one of those things, it's like, you can't blame her. Like, you understand her point of view and the just emotions that are probably running through her brain at that point. But at the same time, you're like, you have been the one person for Joey to like cling to as like a saving grace. And like,
and you just shattered him.
I didn't know how they could come back from this, honestly. Like, I really was like, at this point I was sobbing too. Cause I was like, I don't know how they can. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I had more cohesive thoughts, but it's a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I cannot wait. I'm also excited to see Johnny and Gibbsy. Oh, I'm excited to see Johnny again. I love Johnny. Yes, he's been there for a lot of people, and I think him being there and being so emotional that he like not clings to Johnny, but him and Johnny have a very like not intimate, but like a they know a lot of each other's secrets.
Yes.
And I feel like Johnny knows a lot, but we don't really get to see that because Gibbsy wasn't the main character.
Yeah.
So I don't know, the little teasers that Chloe Walsh is dropping, and I'm like, oh.
I also love that we get to see Gibbsy like trying to buy weed from Joey. I was just like, this is so good because he's so bad at it.
Oh my God. Like it's funny, and she definitely uses him as the comic relief. But like I said, I think that his story is going to have just like so much more emotion. And I always compare like Binding and Keeping 13 to Saving and Redeeming 6, and I say like Binding and Keeping 13 are emotional. Yes, you're going to get emotionally attached, but they have like a very sweet romance. You know what I mean?
Do.
Like, it's sweet, it's adorable. I love Johnny and Shannon. They're perfect and adorable, and I love them. Like, they're living their life. He's a rugby star. Love that, right? Then you have Joey and Aoife, right? And you're thinking, after that bridge scene, how can we come back? How can we go up from here? Like, what is going to happen? And I think the fire, because it was the same night.
Yeah.
And that really also broke Joey. Like, it was just like a week-long thing, if I'm not mistaken, of like one thing after the other that just like broke him down to just like nothing. And I feel like he's run off of rage and anger for most of his life towards Teddy and stuff, and his parents and Darren and, you know, everyone else, the police that don't really see, and the like foster system, the care system, whatever they call it over there. So he just has a lot of rage, but like that night and the week leading up to it, it was just like broke him down to nothing. Like, he literally at that point had nothing. And, you know, like the parallel and like how explosive that night was, because he was contemplating suicide, but at the same time, he left his siblings, he left his parents, or left his mother. And while that is a very hard pill to digest, he still loved his mother at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Very interesting relationship, but like having to lose her like that and thinking that the kids are still in the house and seeing him like sobbing on the lawn again, because we saw it
in the other book, and it was
it was
also not realizing that he had just tried to commit suicide, essentially. Like, we had no idea when we read those first 2 books, and it just adds another layer of, oh gosh, this poor kid.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like in Keeping 13, when I read it, I felt like he was just off doing drugs. Like,
I think she wants us to believe that. Like, I thought he was on a bender too, and then
you know, he's screaming and yelling like, I left them, and you think, oh well, yeah, you were doing drugs, of course. Like, you know, that's a whole thing, you know, to digest in and of itself. And then you see in his book that he was literally going to end his life, and leave everyone. And it's really interesting that Johnny is the one to save those children, and Shannon, and how obviously in his book you saw how hard it was for him to be like, I just left her. Like, he breaks down. He takes care of Shannon for a second, but then like he goes to his dad and was like, I left her.
Yeah.
She looked me dead in the eye. And I just left her.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, what she did it, in your opinion, did it like redeem
her?
Yeah.
To an extent. I feel like I found myself remembering, and anytime I was very mad at her throughout the book, I was like, you know what? At the end, she did the right thing. She got her kids out, because she very easily could have not done that. So.
Yeah, I feel conflicted. Like, I want to say yes. And I think in time, maybe, I mean, you see that Joey has like still like a lot of feelings and stuff like after that. But I feel like those kids are so damaged, like the emotional turmoil that they have to deal with for the rest of their life.
And a lot because she allowed him back in the house and let him do these things. But also, I don't know what she could have done. Like, I don't think she would have gotten, if she got a restraining order, I don't think it would have done anything. So at the same time, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it would
Teddy had a restraining order, and then he decided.
Oh, yeah, and then exactly. So I think the same thing would have happened. Like, I
think it would have happened sooner.
Yeah.
I think he would have snapped, and it would have happened sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But yeah, also from that moment, you see, obviously, Johnny's parents step in a lot.
Yes.
And I think that is one of the found family type dynamic, I guess you could say, between them. All of them. And the way that she just clings to those children. Now knowing that she has had a past similar to Joey's.
Yeah.
It makes it even like more heartwarming, but also heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. Yeah. Like, just, I want her story, because I feel like hers is probably going to be the most emotional, I feel like.
Yeah. Also, because you know where she's at now.
Yes.
I think that's also, for me, that would make it more emotional, like seeing how far she's come.
Yes.
But also seeing how this is the part that might make me tear up, and I don't know why. The way that she sees as Joey is not just a sibling to them. Joey was their parent.
Yeah.
And that she asks permission to do things. Like, I see you as an equal. You have raised them. You were going to be here, and you can have anything that you want. I'm not taking these kids away from you. I'm putting them in a better place, you know? But also she gives him the option to go to rehab.
Yeah.
And he chooses to. And I think, one, if you've ever had someone in your life that has any type of addiction, drugs, alcohol, any type of addiction, that step to not like, to put yourself in there takes a lot.
It does.
To say like, yeah, I do actually need help. Not being committed yourself. Like,
and also the fact that he was willing to let her watch those kids while he was in rehab, having not known her for very long. I think he could tell right away that like she was a good person.
Yeah.
He trusted her with those kids.
Yeah. And you can see in Johnny's book that he was wary of her. At first, he was like, who the hell is this lady? Like, why is she being so nice?
Yeah.
And even Tig was like, I don't know if I like these people.
I love Tig.
I am so ready for Tig. He is so fucking good. Tig and Ollie, their little banter really gets me. I love it because like they're young enough to where they understand what's going on. But I think that their stories, they have the
kids. They still have that like
the kid, like they still act like kids sometimes, you know what I mean? And I think that in their books, they're going to still, like they can heal a lot easier than maybe Johnny and I mean,
Yeah.
Shannon and Joey, I would say.
I think Tig is going to have a really tough time, but I think the other two they'll be okay.
Oh, for sure. But also how wary they are of Johnny's father at first.
Yeah, which is also heartbreaking because they're like man equals bad
and
dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh my God. The way that I can just picture it in my head, the way he was screaming that he literally thought those children were inside that house.
He thought they barricaded themselves in the room. He was like, they probably barricaded themselves from the dad and they can't get out now. Like, to think that.
Because that's what they've been taught to do.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone would have thought that Teddy would have done that. That's also very like hard for Joey because he's been her protector along with everyone else, but like been trying to be her protector. And I think this is also why I still have resentment as a reader towards Darren. Like, I don't know if Darren could ever be redeemed in my eyes. I don't know.
Darren, I was more upset with Darren and how he treated Aoife and how he was like pro getting rid of the baby and like things of that nature. And I'm like, you have not been here. Like, how dare you make these decisions when you have not been around? You abandoned these children and had your brother raise them.
But also that the mom had the cell phone number the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it broke my heart when Joey said I could never measure up to him. Even the fact that he abandoned them, she was still the favorite son, despite the fact that Joey did everything. Yeah. And the mom just keeps calling him a junkie and all of this stuff, and just like his father. And he's doing everything for her.
I think Darren is more of a coward.
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely.
Like, I'm glad he has his husband. And like, do I feel bad what happened to him when he was in foster care? Absolutely. Like, no child should have to go through that.
Yeah.
But I hope to God Chloe Walsh never writes his book, because even at the end of Redeeming 6, when he's in rehab, Darren was still pushing and did not believe that Joey could be rehabilitated into, you know, a clean person, not a junkie. And I was like, we're going to fight?
Yeah.
Darren, I'm going to fight you, okay?
I was like, if Joey is not there for the birth of that baby because of you.
Oh my God, yes. Okay. I don't know that it redeemed her as a mother and woman that she was. Yes. It That's showed true. A glimpse of the actual mother that she could be if it was a different time with a different person.
Yes.
And that's hard for me. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so obviously going on the up from all of that, he goes to rehab, but also when he is at Johnny's parents' house, he's just lying in the bed. Obviously, he's going through withdrawals. Like, oh, this comment, yes. He trusted them enough that he knew that they were going to be okay, that he could finally take care of himself for once.
Yes.
And be like, I need to do this for me. Because I feel like it was like a crossroads. He had like the kids, and then he had his child with Aoife that he had to think about. So he had to determine, like, what do I do right now? It's like, okay, well, they're taken care of right now. I'm the only one in Aoife and this baby's life. I need to do something. And that something was, I need to go to rehab. Yeah. Darren cannot. Yeah. No.
Yeah, no.
No. Worse than the mom?
I don't know if I go that far, but I will say I don't think he can be redeemed. I don't like him as a character.
No, yeah, not at all. But yeah, him being in that bed going through withdrawals, not talking to Shannon just sitting there with him, not talking to anyone, you know, while the funerals are happening. It was before the funerals. And, you know, you see Aoife, at first when you see Shannon and Johnny's story, you're like, why isn't Aoife there? Where the hell is Aoife? Right? Like, why isn't she not with them all in their house? And then you see that the parents were trying to keep her away.
Yeah.
Tony was trying to keep her away. And that was rough for me because I'm like, well, thinking like she's 17, I think at the time, right? I don't even think she's 18. Maybe she's just about
I think she is 18 because she's older than him, right?
Yeah, but not by a lot. I don't think it was like they're both around the same age.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if she's 18. I think that at that point she's like, I'm 18, I can kind of do my own thing.
Yeah.
I don't blame him for wanting to protect his own child. But at the same time, I'm like, this is Joey. This is still the Joey he knows. Like, even though he knows all this stuff about Joey now, but this is still.
I don't think I realized that I thought the parents knew he was doing hardcore drugs, but then the dad says something like, oh, and if it's just weed, and then Teddy, it's during that family meeting, and then Teddy's like, if you think it's just weed, you're like insane, yada, yada, yada. So I was under the impression that they had known that Joey was using this entire time and were like still trying to get him on the straight and narrow. So when they said that, I was like, okay, I can see you being a little mad now.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that the mom, as her mom, understood that why she wanted to go to Joey.
Yeah.
And I also don't think her parents realized how much Aoife meant to Joey.
Yes, I agree with that.
They had to see her with Joey after everything to realize how much of like just a bond that they share, like how much Aoife really had been there for him. So yeah, but when he walks in, or when she walks into the bedroom, when his mom, or Johnny's mom, what is her name? What the hell is her name?
I forget. I don't remember. I have the book right here. I could probably.
It's on like the tip of my tongue, and I'm like, what? Because I know it's John Senior. That's John, like Johnny's parents. Johnny's dad is John Senior. Oh, can't think of the name. Anyway, when she's like, "Oh, I have a guest for you," and Aoife walks in, and all he does was just like groan, and he like hugs her stomach, and he's just like, Adele. Adele, that's her name. Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, there we go.
It was like on the tip. It was like an A or an E. I knew it started with a vowel, but like just how he just like collapses, and he's like, "Oh, my safe space is there." Do you know what I mean? When the whole time he's just like curled up on it himself. You know, oh, that part really.
And the fact that even like every time he was getting, not every time, but most of the times he was getting really, really messed up, he would still like slip through her window and be with her. And I just.
The dynamic that they had, like, you know, being in a relationship with someone who does hardcore drugs like that, you know, it's easy for you on the outside. You may be like, oh, I would never stay with someone who does that. You know, when you realize the reasons why someone is doing that, in this case, Joey's situation, she can't do anything. And this is the only escape that Joey has to like numb the pain, right?
Yes.
So I think at one point she tells him, come here. You don't want to go home? Come here. You go out and do whatever you want to do, but come here.
Yeah.
You know? And that's really like I said, his safe space. Like that room was his safe space. And that was like really, it just shows how far their relationship had built, because you're with them when they're 6th grade, 7th grade, like they're children, you know, and you see them grow up. And do I like Sabray's baby? Not at all.
But it wasn't really a surprise, though. We kind of knew from the first 2 books it's hinted at.
Yes, yeah. But also when Joey and Aoife go to Tommen and beat the shit out of those 2 people, I love that. I love Aoife so much.
I forgot she was pregnant, and I was like, oh my gosh. But I also love the fact that I knew, like, I guessed she was pregnant, and I think you confirmed it during the last live show. And then as I'm reading it, I'm like, how does she get pregnant? Because she's taking the pill. Like, I completely missed, like, her throwing up, and it didn't click. And normally, like, I was looking for those things. I was like, she's obviously on an antibiotic or something.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh my gosh, that night she threw up. They literally told us, and I missed that.
Because even she's like, I always take my pill. I always take my pill. I always take my pill. I'm like, yeah. And I honestly didn't get it until the second time I read it. Like, that I caught that she was throwing up. Because at first I thought they didn't even show that in the book.
Oh, yeah. No, they talk about it. And I was like, I missed that. And I was looking for it.
Yep.
Which is really good.
Yep. But yeah, after he goes to the funeral too was a hard thing for Aoife to be like, I have to stand here and not go after him. Like, she has to do basically the whole pregnancy by herself.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's keeping her going is saying that Joey is going to come home and be there for the birth of the kid. Like, that's the only thing keeping her going, right? And I thought the amount of money that he gets from the grandfather, that the grandmother gives him, where it's like, I wanted to give this to you when you weren't under Teddy, because I knew you would give it to your mom or spend it on the children. But the grandmother is like, because they're okay now, because they're with Adele and John, you can do this. And he puts her in Tommen with him.
Yeah.
And the way that he comes home, right? Like, he has the whole ordeal. Like, is he better? Is he actually like, he's still Joey. He's still foul-mouthed. He's still, you know, his temper's not like calm.
Yeah.
And I think that's so realistic. It's not like he goes to rehab and like is magically better.
Yeah.
like a perfect person. No, he's still Joey at the end of the day, right? But when he tries to surprise Aoife, that doesn't work. And the kids just are so excited to see him. Like Shannon's so excited. He realizes Shannon just looks so healthy. That was also too cool to see it from like his eyes.
I don't think I realized that she had failure to thrive. I just thought she was like small in stature, but then it makes sense in the end of the second book where it's like, oh my gosh, she grew. But I feel like this book really lays it out where she's like, I don't have an eating disorder. I'm sad. Like I can't eat. So.
Yeah. And one thing I like about Binding of Keep 13 is her anxiety. Like obviously her anxiety comes from the parents and dealing with that, but also like the bullies at school and stuff. And like not eating is so common with people. Like your stomach just hurts so much. Like you never want to eat. You're always anxious. Like
you're fight or flight. Like
you're like you eat one or two things and just everything makes you nauseous because you're just so constantly like at a high intensity, like going, So it was cool to see from his eyes that he was able to be like, wow, like it solidified like this was a good thing, But also I started tearing up when he had to go find Tig. Because Tig was in the treehouse.
I don't remember this part.
When Joey came home and Tig wasn't there to greet him. He was in the treehouse and it was like, you left us.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm proud of Joey because while he feels sad that Tig feels that way, he knew he had to. Because at first I thought, oh shit, this is like a first test, And he's even scared to like re-enter the world. He was like, they have all these things that are going to test me. Like, am I going to go back to that? Like, I can't, but like, I know that sometimes I can't help it,
Yeah.
But also he's about to bring a child into the world, Like, there's a lot going on. So that was hard where him and Tig have like a moment. But then he's fine. Like,
yeah,
it takes some time. And
then he goes like Darren. He came back. It took a while, but he did come back.
Yeah, so. And I think that's also like why Tig was like, okay, like he maybe couldn't understand and comprehend why he had to go. Like, he just had to get better. Like Joey had to get better, but he didn't understand from what. And I think as Tig gets older, he'll kind of realize. He'll piece things together. Like he's a smart kid. They're all smart. They all see stuff, Yeah. Yeah. Adele had so much faith in Joey, but also Aoife had so much faith. Like she knew she was still his champion, still his cheerleader. When that first call he gets to give her.
Right. Yeah. Oh
my God. Yeah. The emotional.
Oh, wait, I wrote down, there's a note. Oh, it was right before that call, the therapist, Joey is yelling at Darren. And is like screaming. And the therapist is all excited, even though what he said was absolutely horrible. It was like, I'm so happy you expressed your emotions. And that's what I do at work all the time. And I was like, I relate to this so much. I'm so happy he's yelling about his feelings right now. It was great.
Because he really he's always internalized it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, he's still Joey. He's still going to get passionate. He's a passionate person. He feels a lot of things all the time for a lot of people that are really close to him. So yeah, but also I was not expecting for him to like come home and then Eve was like, this baby's not coming. I'm waiting till Joey. And she's literally going into labor.
Yeah.
And Joey shows up and he's like, oh, okay, it's happening. Let's go.
Baby.
Yeah, the treehouse was so sad. But yeah, obviously they do get their HEA and it takes time and you go through it.
They really went through it.
But the little house that Adele made them,
she's an angel. Like I loved, I think, what is it, the epilogue where it's from Shannon's perspective and she's with the nephew and you're seeing them and it was
so like, she's like, oh, let me run over there before school to see if they need help. And, like Joey's like, hey, can you watch? Oh my God, what is the baby's name?
I forgot. Did they name it after? No.
She calls him by name or something.
She does call him by name.
But then she's like, oh, Joey's like, oh, can you watch the baby? And she's like, sure. And then like they go off and have like a little moment, him and Aoife when they're like getting dressed for school. And I just think that it's so cute, but
AJ.
Also, huh?
AJ.
What does AJ mean?
I don't know. That's his name now, AJ.
I think it's John is the middle name. if I'm not mistaken. I thought they named
Anthony. Is it Anthony John?
Oh yeah, because Aoife's dad is Tony. His real name is
Okay, so his name's that makes sense.
Okay, that's what it comes from. Yeah, I think that's Anthony John. I think that's their name.
Okay.
Also, yeah, she had apparently a really tough delivery, where they had to like do a C-section, and then she was bleeding a lot. And
that was another note. That was the most like realistic birth I've ever read in a book, where like they went into like detail of how terrifying. Because normally it's like magical 3 pushes, you have a baby. I like the fact that they were like, oh no, this is actually terrifying.
But also at the same time, would it be Joey's book if you didn't have a little bit more angst with something else?
Very true. It's like they could die.
Oh my God, I have an eyelash. I was tearing up, and now like my eyelashes are all like floating around in my eye. Yeah, I liked it how the nurses were all like, oh my God, you're a natural at this. Like, he's just handling the newborn like it was. And I was like, yeah, he's done this 4 other times.
And he knew everything about the birth, like what she spoke, like all of this stuff, because he was probably there for his mom's birth. Like,
he was there with, you see him going through labor with the mom for the youngest.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, like, oh, and the miscarriage.
The miscarriage, I know, that part. Well, that part happens right before that scene, and I was like, I can't take this.
Like I said, it's literally like a week or two of something like constantly pushing him. Like, it was just, before it was like you could go a month or two between like Teddy being annoying, hitting everyone and like being aggressive and stuff, but this was just like day after day after day after day. And at that point I was like, I would give up. Like, I don't blame you. Like, at that point I was like, I don't blame you.
I can't remember, when does she tell him about the baby? I know she tells him when he's messed up and doesn't remember.
You said that. You sent me a voicemail where you're like, I have a feeling he's not going to remember this.
I didn't remember, but there was, when does he?
They find out in school because her stupid ass.
Oh, her
told everyone.
Brother. That's right.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Her brother blurts it out. And he's like, I hate her brother so fucking much.
I hate the brother. The brother's the worst. I do like the ex-boyfriend, though, that he kind of redeemed himself at the end. Is like, hey, I got this guy arrested for you.
A little bit, yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what? I can take that. I
might have tried to pressure you into sex a few times, and I cheated on you, but I did get this guy arrested for you. Bye.
Anthony Jr. Okay. Yep. They just kept going. But that miscarriage thing where he had to literally like go. Teddy was like, take care of your mother. I can't deal with her when she's like this. Blah, 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 blah.
I'm going to go to a bar and then I'm going to try to your girlfriend.
Yeah. But also how he, like, her mom just like, okay, I don't know if you know this about Chloe Walsh. She was pregnant with twins. She lost one of the twins during birth, I think, and one survived. So there was a huge period, Nikki actually told me this, that there was a huge period where she didn't write. So I think that's why Binding and Keeping 13 was published so far before Saving and Redeeming 6.
Yeah.
So I think the miscarriage part really hit home for her. And that's why it was like so realistic watching. Like, obviously I've never gone through that, but it was so like emotional. Like, I felt bad for her. Yeah. That she was like, I can't leave my baby. Like, they just took them. It's like, at that point, like, what can be done?
And as like the son, like, what do you do? Like, seeing your mother literally falling apart. And he's probably grappling with the fact that he's somewhat relieved that there's not another sibling, but he's also feeling like having that feeling of relief is probably traumatizing. So like, all of this.
Shannon felt that way too.
Yeah.
When she confessed, she was like, I'm kind of happy. And Johnny's like, what? And that was kind of like before Johnny really knew how bad it was.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh yeah. I feel like we're all in the same boat that we hate him.
There's nothing good about the brother. The brother was the worst.
But yeah, I also love seeing like them naming the baby after Anthony, and then like Tony coming in and like him and Joey having that little bit of a reunion as like a father-son figure. And I thought that was really sweet. I love that the mom was there, and she was nervous for Aoife to move in with Joey, but she understood it was like necessary. You know what I mean? Like,
and also like, what's going to happen at this point? Like, they're already having a kid.
Yeah. But also it was like her being okay with Aoife going to live with him, knowing his past. Like, she had to give him another chance. She had to be okay with that, And I thought it was so cute that Shannon took care of the baby, and then the mom showed up to like take the kid, and then like they could go to school together. And seeing Tig at Tommen too, I was like, oh my god, this kid.
He hits on Claire, right? At the end of the other two books. I was like, yeah.
And Gipsy's like, you're a little shit.
Yeah.
Because Gipsy is like, he has a little bit of that childness too. Like his humor is like childish. It can be sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that's like him and Tig. I just cannot wait to see Tig. Also, I'm so excited. I hope we get to see like more of Joey, more of Aoife, like living their life after all of this and not having to go back.
Oh.
I don't know how many more books that I can read with revisiting all of this emotion. Like,
I mean, luckily, I don't think Taming 7, I think it is going to start early, obviously, because I think we have to get that event that put Claire and Gipsy like together and that whole, it was a boat accident, right? Like
they were on a lake. I
something
know
like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be as like Lynch heavy because.
Yeah. I'm excited to see though, Gipsy and Johnny as like children.
Yes.
Together and seeing their like bromance. I love their bromance. Oh, I love it. But I also love Joey and Johnny's little bromance that they kind of started, especially when Joey realized that he could trust Johnny, that like Johnny got the kids out from the fire.
Yeah.
That was also really sweet. Yeah. I'm just happy that she's writing again. So I can only imagine how hard that was for her, but also writing Aoife and her birth, where Aoife has like a happy baby, you know.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
But it was so sweet. I just loved it so much. Like it was such a good, like I can take a deep breath and be like, you know, Joey and Aoife are okay. Like they went through it, but they're okay.
And like they're just two strong characters. Like Aoife, I couldn't imagine going through everything that she went through. Like just to be pregnant alone.
But still sticking with Joey. Like that is like the ultimate, partnership. I don't even love devotion. Like I don't know what else word to use, but just like she was so sure of herself. And that when she made the choice to choose Joey, like after she got over her ex and like let him go and stuff like that, like she was all in.
Yeah.
And like I said, Joey never cheated on her, never strayed. There was like a moment where he thought for a second, I think, or something happened where he was like drugged out or something.
He was drugged out. I know he slept with that. Well, also finding out that he didn't consent like the first time he lost his virginity.
Yes, I forgot about that part.
Oh my, I was like, no.
Yeah. Another thing to add to it.
Did we have to bring that up? Like,
yeah, it's also really cool. She was his ride or die. It's just really cool to see. Everyone thinks that Joey's a strong character. And yes, absolutely. He is so strong. But like their romance is very different than Johnny and Shannon. Shannon leaned on Johnny a lot.
She did.
Emotionally, physically. Of course, like he picked her up and, you know, made her self-confidence skyrocket. And, you know, he rebuilt her into like the woman that she can become. But like Joey and Aoife, when they chose each other, they chose each other. It was ride or die. She could have easily said, you know what? I'm going to go have this baby by myself. You go do your thing. Like, I'm going to leave you. Like, we need to part ways. She didn't. She said, you're going to come find me after you do rehab. And
I was waiting for that. Like, there's a part where she's like, I just realized I'm pregnant. Like, it like clicked with her that like I have a baby in me. And I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna like stop talking to him and it's going to be bad. So happy that didn't happen. I was waiting for it.
I think she kind of, you know, that thought probably was in her mind. I think at one point it's like her mom mentioned something and she's like, maybe do I just break it off with Joey? Like, I need to choose this baby over my partner because look at Joey and Teddy and Marie Lynch. Like, look at them. Like, I don't want that to be my life, you know, because she's been in it for so many years. She's seen it. So I think that Joey is one of my all-time favorite characters because I see so many like pieces of myself in that. And it was so I just connected with him so much. I also see a piece of myself in Shannon too. Like that like little shy, meek, anxiety-ridden girl. You know what I mean? And then seeing Joey on the opposite side of it, that he feels like it's like the weight of the world. I feel like everyone kind of thinks that like you have a lot of things going on. You're pulled in not as many directions as Joey and not dealing with those kind of things, but you still have those similar feelings that you can relate to. So And then, you know, I love Johnny for the way that he handled Shannon, but like Aoife is probably one of my favorite female characters of all time.
She is top 5 favorite heroines. Like, I just love the way that I love the banter back and forth. I love that she took no shit. She was also so driven. Like, she decided what she wanted and she went for it. Everything about Aoife, I loved.
Yeah, she's like who I want to be when I grow up type of thing.
Exactly. Like,
minus the child, but
yes.
but like how she is, how just so sure of herself, how confident she was in her body, you know, just from a really young age. Like not many girls at 14, 15, 16 years old can say that they're that confident in their body, you know. And I just like, I want to peek. I want Chloe to write like a 10 years later, like what are they doing now? Like where are they? Like do they have their little white picket fence? Like how many kids do they have? Like all of those things.
I can totally see them having like 6 kids, but like well managed, like taking care of their kids, like not like that, like the better version of how Shannon grew up.
Yeah. Also, it's just so cool that like I think someone mentioned it, how Joey was there for her after having the baby. Postpartum depression is like a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think 100% she probably, Aoife did have that.
Yeah.
And Joey was like, you just have to be calm. Like, Joey just seems like, looking at your partner, especially the man, you know, you think like, oh, he shouldn't be this natural with a child. And you feel inadequate as a mom trying to care for your child. It's like very hard for her. Like, I can only imagine, like, you know.
But she's a teenager too. Like, she doesn't have any experience doing this. And Joey shouldn't have experience doing this.
But he does, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, but no, how he's like, it was like a big test for him. When he came home, everything happened.
Yeah.
He had to go
stress inducing. They're like, stay away from stress. Labor, like everything.
Labor, having a child, having your partner almost like dying in childbirth, basically, going back to school, but then also feeling guilty that Aoife's at home by herself with the baby, where he was like, you know, fuck school. I'm going to just stay home with Aoife for a little bit. Like, he got suspended, I think. At Tommen, didn't he get suspended or something? Or
something happened at Tommen. I forget what it was.
Where he had to like stay home for a week or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, it's just, it was such a good book. Like, there's not one fault I have with Redeeming Six. Like, for Saving Six, I think like the chapters probably could have been shorter for each year that they were young.
Yeah, but still, I mean,
I feel like you need that.
Yeah, I loved both of them.
Yeah,
so much. Yeah. I wish they actually had chapter numbers. That's the only critique I can give you. There's no chapter numbers in these books. I don't know if you noticed that. There's just headings. Oh. Yeah, so if you listen to the audiobook, it's very hard to figure out where you are because it doesn't tell you the heading.
Oh, you know what? Because I was reading on my Kindle, you know how you can just open the chapter headings?
Like, that's all. It's wrong way. It doesn't have chapters.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't realize that. Because like on my Kindle, it's like chapter 1, because that's how it's labeled on Kindle, but then they have the title. So if I was ever listening and I wanted to go to my Kindle, I could just like look at the title.
No, it was really a pain in the butt if I was just listening for like a commute and then I come back and be like, where am I in the book? And then I'd spend like 10 minutes trying to find it.
So you have the Saving Six, the new version, right?
I have the binding new version.
No, the one you just held up?
Oh, no, this is the indie one. Or the what's it called?
That's the Canadian, right? Is that the one?
Yeah.
I think the new version, because I know for Binding and Keeping 13, the ending chapters were a little different.
See, this one does have chapters for Keeping 13.
Oh, really?
It has chapters over. See, it says like chapter 12.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
I never realized that. Oh, yeah, these do. I literally never realized that.
Do you have the newest one, like the new ones that just came out?
Oh, no? Yeah. So I have the old ones and then I have these.
Yeah, those. I just ordered those.
Yeah. I actually have, I was going to ask you, I have an extra.
Oh, is that Johnny and?
Yeah, I have. So I ordered it from the indie bookstore that also have like book plates. Signed. That's why I wanted it. And with the Keeping 13, I guess they had extra art print. So they sent me 2. So I was going to ask you if you wanted that one.
I would love one. That'd be awesome.
Because I have them right here. I have the...
Yeah, I started a shrine. I don't know if you can kind of see it, but this is going to be my shrine of the Boys of Tommen.
Yeah, that's I have the, oh my God, what series is it called? The first book is Tame by Chloe Walsh. What series is this called? Carter Kids.
Okay. There was one that's apparently dark, but there's no audio for it yet, but I really want to read it. My friend was telling me about it by Chloe Walsh.
Oh, this is book 3. I have them all out of order. What the heck is the first book? I didn't realize. So Treacherous is the first book. On Hoopla, the first 3 books of this audio is on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the first 3, if I'm not mistaken, are on audio. Yeah. I love this. He's an underground, like, illegal fighter.
Okay.
You know how I feel about my fighters, man. But It is a true hate to love, like, true. She's Irish, and she comes to the States to live with her uncle for a little bit, and that's where she meets our main male character.
Are they, how old are they? Is it also teenagers, or?
They're in high school. They're in their last year, so they're 18.
Okay. So
at least 17 turning 18. So they're a little bit older than Biden 1813. But my goal is to read through her whole backlist because I'm a fan.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely want to read more from her.
Yeah.
Is it Blurred Lines? I think maybe that's it.
The Blurred Lines series?
Yeah. Yes, this is it. It's called Chloe Walsh, Blurred Lines, Book 1. But apparently it's like super dark.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen these paperbacks. So they don't have audiobooks now.
No, they don't.
Damn it.
But I think that's the next series I'm going to read. I might just read that on my Kindle.
She was taken from me and subjected to crimes that made me sick to my stomach.
Right? It's going to be trauma, but it's going to be good.
Never Let Me Go is the second book?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a duet. Okay.
And it's short. It's only like 300 pages.
So the first book is only 300 something pages. Yeah. And the second book says it's 140 pages.
Oh, that's weird. I wonder if it's like an extended epilogue. Like it's not really.
Okay, the paperback says it's 198 pages, but the Kindle said it was 130. Well, looks like I'm gonna order some books. She has a huge backlist though.
I saw it. I think on our last live, I looked through like all of the books and I was like, oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. Like Pocket Full of Blame. I think these books are on Hoopla, if I'm not mistaken. The audio. It's called, Pocket Full of Blame, Pocket number 1. But I don't know anything of them. The Capaldi Twins. Chris and Sketch, As Different as Day and Night. One my best friend, one my lover.
Ooh, that could be good.
She's like a, oh, sorry. Okay, sorry, I got caught up with the comments.
I don't think the audiobook for Taming 7 is going to release with the paperback, and that makes me really sad.
She's had that written for a very long time, though.
Okay, hopefully, because normally I feel like they would have it like
on
Amazon, and they don't.
Maybe in March. Usually she announces the audiobooks early. Are you in her reader group on Facebook?
No.
I'll post in there and ask if anyone knows if that is going to be releasing, because I want the audiobooks. I love those narrators.
I'll probably wait for the audio just because I love the way the narrators did it, unless it's going to be like a year and then I'm just going to read it.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, I get this. Like my mom, she had my brother at 36, and like after not having a child for 12 years, like it was basically brand new all over again to her. And I remember asking her something, like now that I was in my 20s, so I was definitely a lot older. And I was like, I don't know how you did it. Like you just went back to work after 6 weeks. Like you seemed like you had it all together. She's like, I used to just cry when Alex cried. Like he wouldn't stop crying and I never knew why. And I was like, oh, I never noticed that. She was like, you were at school the whole time. Like, why would you?
I'm in the opposite camp. My brother's 20 years older than me. So
20?
like 20, exactly 20. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it was, I had 3 parents. Like he was 100% another parent.
Yeah. Like Alex came over last weekend last weekend, the weekend before, to do dual enrollment for, because he's a junior. He wants to do dual enrollment for his senior year. And he called me. He had a meeting with his counselor Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. And I was like, do you need me to come up there? Like, I can be there, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, I'm just going to call you instead of calling mom or dad. And my dad thought, like, he was going to call him. And I was like, Dad, you don't know anything about, like, because he's dual enrolling at the same college I went to.
Okay.
So, like, the classes and stuff. So, yeah, it was just, I do those things for him. Like, he asks me a lot of, like, parent questions if he doesn't want to deal with my mom and dad. Like, we have this really open, like, he'll tell me a lot of things. He's a little bit more open with me than my parents. But I'm also more understanding. Like, my parents can be strict and hard sometimes.
That's more of like my brother. It was like, if I was at a party and I need to get picked up, I was calling my brother. I was not calling my parents.
Yeah, he doesn't go to parties. He's actually a really good kid, surprisingly. Like, he doesn't do all that crazy stuff. And I was like, okay. But I always tell him, like, if you need this, call me. If you need that, call Brandon. Like, Brandon's been in his life since he was 4 years old. So, like, you know, it's like we're both other parents. So we talk to him. It's a very weird dynamic. It's like I'm a third parent, but also, like, I'm a really good friend. Like, I've been there, you know, the whole time. So that's also why I feel so connected to Joey, because I was that older parent. Like, my dad, when my brother was 3, 4, my dad had surgery on his foot and he couldn't drive. And he had to go in for another surgery. And it was just really hard on him. And so my mom was basically like a single parent. She was working because my dad couldn't work. And I had to go pick up my brother and I had to help feed him and take baths and, like, take on a lot of that throughout college. So I was 18, 19.
Yeah.
So I just, like, when I tell you, like, I really connect with Joey, it's like, I get it. I understand that weight of constantly giving yourself to other people and not taking a moment for yourself. But when you do take a moment for yourself, you're called selfish.
Yeah.
Like, it was very hard. I want the copies you have, the black ones.
Mercari. You just got to keep checking. That's what I was doing. I was like, every day I was waiting for those.
Yeah, the Carter Kids.
The Bastard Prince is very dark.
Oh. She also said that she had a whole bunch of, like, extra chapters from binding, keeping, saving, and redeeming. She had, like, over 100 pages of extra content that never got published.
Oh. I mean, I would read them, 100%.
Exactly.
But also, they're so long already. Like, I just can't imagine.
Yeah. I'm so glad you enjoyed these books, though.
I did. I'm kind of mad at myself. I wish I read them sooner, because I remember you talking about them. It was on a lot, like, reading sprints forever. Like, probably right when you read them, probably around March. And I was like, oh, I really need to read those. And then I waited a year.
It's the same thing. Like, I keep telling Jess, and she's like, I know they're your favorites. I just have to get to them. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. She's picking up Throne of Glass right now. And I'm like, fuck you.
I can't believe she hadn't read that series yet. I had no idea.
Listen, when I tell you she was a fake Sarah J. Maas fan.
Yeah.
I truly mean that.
Yeah. And I feel like even this book, like, you have to read them. You have to read them all.
Yes. I was on FaceTime with her and I was like, and then I couldn't talk because I realized she didn't read the rest of this.
I almost just did something. I was like, wait, can't say anything. But yeah, like, you have to read them all.
She's on Crown of Midnight right now. So.
Is that the second one?
Yeah.
No. It gets good, though.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
almost there.
Yeah. Arrowfire is my favorite, so that's why I'm like, oh.
Same. And once you get to Arrowfire, you're good.
Yeah. She's like, we haven't really read. She's like, Kale's my favorite character. I'm like, okay. She's like, I know you don't like him, but I love him. Like, don't
literally might skip Tower of Dawn for my read along because I just don't want to put myself through it. And I didn't tandem read it the first time. Like, I read them back to back.
Oh my gosh.
That was the worst.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to tandem read them whenever I do read them again. Because there's value in his book. I get it, but it's rough. But I am excited that you're doing that on your Patreon because I'm like, maybe I wanted to do it when Jess was reading it, but she's doing like 4 books in a week or 2 weeks. And I was like,
I was originally just going to binge them, but I was like, I have so many other books I have to read. So I feel like once a month is fine. If someone wants to go ahead or not, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm very excited that you're doing that because it literally came at like the perfect time. And I was like, decision made. I'll just do them for the next 8 months.
Yeah.
Everyone has a favorite, and that's good. Anyway, I am so happy that we did this read along. I'm so happy more people picked it up.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for joining in the comments. I'm so glad you guys had a lot of thoughts and emotions, and I'm proud of we didn't cry.
We didn't.
I teared up.
I came close. There was one time, but I pulled it back.
I'm glad you had your water too. You know the trick, like if you're about to cry, you drink water.
That's why I was like, I'm not gonna cry during this.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. It was so fun. We both can't wait for Taming 7, but I'm gonna double check to see if there's an audiobook, and I'll message you. But
if there is an audiobook, I think we should have a live show for that. Just saying.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And we could definitely do one at like the end of April or something.
Yeah.
To give people time to read it.
Yeah.
I think it comes out April 13th.
It's early April. I know that.
I want to say it's April 7th, but I think that'll be too much of a coinky dink with being like Taming 7.
I actually thought it was April 7th. It might be.
That'd be funny. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining. If we do have a live show, of course, we'll post it YouTube and on Instagram. But thank you guys so much for joining. We both appreciate it, and we'll see